In the Round is all about highlighting musicians on their music journey. Whether they're local, regional, or touring coast to coast, they all have great stories to tell. We're looking for the stories that allow us to get to know them in a different light. The funny, the heartwarming, all the lows and highs, and of course the music that was born from that journey. Hey, I'm Dee, I'm a musician, I'm a music lover, and I'm your host. Let's jump right in. We just roll into it here.
Yeah, great.
We just,
That's how
and
life
this is so funny because we know each other, and I was trying to think of what's the questions that I've never asked Abbie that I want to ask. But fortunately, I've gotten to talk to you a lot through being in this community. And I always start when I have a guest, I try to write out kind of everything I know about them, or what titles. So I started with Folk Queen, Abbie Sawyer, In the Round, Folk Queen. But I wrote mom, entrepreneur, business lady, all these things. And you wear so many hats.
Yeah.
And it's impressive. And again, you don't look tired to me at all. So I'm very impressed.
Shower does wonders, man.
Especially when you're on your own, no kids, bugging you that day. Yeah.
Totally.
No. Well, and you were momming this morning.
Momming this morning. I had my apron on. I was making some zucchini chocolate chip muffins,
Oh, that sounds amazing.
Oh, yeah. It's like when I make those, I don't need anything else.
Yeah.
But it's great.
I would just eat those. Do you garden, right? You guys have a garden?
Yep.
So were those your zucchinis? Are they big enough?
Well, unfortunately, we got the squash bug.
Oh, no.
Yeah. We got the old squash bug. But a lot of herbs, a lot of basil. I make a lot of dried teas. So I have some tulsi and got the calendula, and we have raspberries, so I get the leaves from that, and lemon balm and all kinds of stuff. So it's like the decadence of summer to go out and pick things from the garden and put them right into the pan or right into the pot, and so that's kind of how I like to spend the warm season.
Before I retract into the deep dark hole that is
cave.
winter.
Yeah.
Oh,
totally.
You know what I love about that is I feel like that's reflected in your music. When I was thinking about you today and your songwriting style and your vocal style, everything's so natural and uninhibited to me, and you're a very vulnerable performer. I feel like.
Thanks for saying that.
And on the nature side. Because a question I wanted to ask you was around inspiration. Because to me, you're just like a font of, you're constantly posting videos online of here's a new song. And it just feels like every other week you got, a banger.
Thank you.
That you're putting out.
Well, people ask me what I do, and I don't do anything full time. And I think if anybody was really being honest and not in this capitalist system that we live in where, you have to commit to one thing forever and die in that job.
Right.
And then you're
or so they told us.
relegated to a lazy boy. You know what I mean? It's I went from the desk to the lazy boy, and that was my life. It was nice, I guess.
Right.
If we're being honest, it's we're all a salad. We all got a lot of things that we're interested in, and I'm the same. So when it comes to creativity, sometimes for me, creativity looks like I'm making a soup without a recipe, and sometimes it's making that zucchini muffin because it gets me off of a screen. It gets me using my hands, especially, if I'm bubbling on a song and I'm in the kitchen, I almost always have to stop and then do a little voice memo because, stuff comes out. It cross collaborates. And so, I wouldn't call myself a Bob Dylan or anything. I'm a human, who's trying to follow the light and lean into the warmth and the things that just, feel like a resonant yes. I try and do more of that. And if it's maybe, I've started to pay attention to that and just say it's a no, and because I've been so good at convincing myself to do lots of things full on, including for other people or whatever that I'm not so committed to or not so interested in. And so now I'm okay, what is serving me and what feels like I'm channeling something. And it's not I'm speaking in tongues or anything, but where it feels okay, this is light. This feels like kind of like what I came into this human body this time around to do, is like make these zucchini muffins like barefoot in my kitchen, and then like noodle on this chorus of a song that I'm trying to finish for this album while I'm doing it. And like maybe then, I'm going to go read to my kids, and I'm popping around. And it's that mix, that salad life, that kind of like potpourri experience, that it's all creativity. So many people, and I'm sure this happens to you too, where they're like, oh, I wish I was a singer.
Right.
Or like, oh, I'm not musical. I'm not creative at all. And it's like, I've seen you like work at TJ Maxx. You know what I'm saying? Where it's like you find the sale, or like you plan a party, or you gracefully navigate a conversation. Creativity is everywhere.
It's in many forms.
Yeah.
It can take a different form. Yeah, that makes sense.
And people get so down on themselves. It's like if they're not a painter, that they don't have this like life force of like creativity and this energy that is so vital. I think all of us are creative in our own ways. It's what makes us crafty and like, problem solvers, and get cool ideas about like how to fix a car, whatever.
Yeah. Which it's still a muscle. I think this is something I've been thinking about and actually talking about and writing about, is as much as creativity, like there is, I feel like kind of a font. You were talking about like a light that kind of guides you or kind of comes out of you, but also it's a muscle that you need to maintain, I feel like as well. Like the more you tap your creative font, the easier it is to reach and things like that.
And to know like what your instinct is telling you. It's like, oh, okay, when I have that feeling, or that like sensation, it could be like a physical sensation or whatever it is, you start to learn your own cues of your own magic.
Right.
It's like, okay, let's follow that rabbit trail. Let's follow that rabbit hole.
Yeah. We follow the trail to get to the hole.
I mean, I guess. Yeah. And so that's the journey. And I think a lot of people don't trust themselves enough, or they were told like, oh, that wasn't good one time or two times. And then it like squashes that curiosity to explore what they actually like, and so I don't know if I like was raised in this bubble of like just being super heavily nurtured or confident or whatever. Cause I look back at pictures of myself from like adolescence, and I'm like, holy God. My daughter found a button that my face was on from when I was in like 7th grade. And she was like, is this a man? I'm like, it's your mom. And, at the time I remember smiling for that picture and just being like, hell yeah. Like, I feel like so good about myself. And like looking back at that, I'm super judgmental of that person, but really I just need to celebrate all stages and ages of myself. And as we all, there are lessons there.
Right.
Anyway, tangent, creativity. I've found if I'm all steak all the time, it makes for a very sad Abbie. A dull Abbie. And also, like in that, sometimes people are like, how do you do all of it? All the things, the bands and the kids and the clinics and the, mama bear, whatever. It's like, well, first of all, social media lies to you. It's awake 24/7.
Yep.
I actually sleep. I go to the grocery store with a baseball cap on. Like I barely like change out of my pajamas some days, and it's like divine. But just to say, rest is also really important for...
And listening to your body.
Yeah.
And actually, some of the things you're saying are reminding me, I mentioned last week, I was on vacation, went on this road trip, and we toured this cave that has a waterfall in it at the end of the road, which is incredible. It's called Ruby Falls. But the story of the man who discovered it, they had to crawl for 6 hours in a space that was like 18 inches.
Hard pass.
Yeah.
No.
To get to a place where they could stand up and then eventually find this waterfall. And part of the reason they kept going was you feel the wind, right? You feel air movement. And that's like what I'm relating to when you say this of like, sometimes the journey feels really hard and there's offshoots and there's little areas you might get stuck on. But if you're feeling that flow coming at you, it's like you've chosen to when to listen to that and when to keep going. And that's just what that made me think of.
And to trust that like a simple wind can lead to this
Like
incredibly
magical for 6 hours. I'd be like,
discovery.
no, like 20 minutes in, I'd be like, we made a horrible mistake.
I hope somebody brought brownies because I'm kind of over this.
Like, no way is this worth it. And then, okay, it's actually super worth it. But it doesn't feel that way. Like the journey oftentimes cannot feel that way. And, but then you get there and you're like, okay, I'm so glad I crawled for 6 hours through a tiny gap,
Or even if you didn't make it, like to feel even the faintest breeze in a tiny little tunnel, I feel like that in and of itself would be like a gift. Like, okay, I'm really glad for that little breeze. I mean, if you just got to the end of the hole and it was just like nothing, it's well, true. At least there's the small breeze,
Yeah, sometimes a mystery needs to be a mystery, right?
Yeah.
Some things you got to leave alone.
Yeah.
Don't turn the rock over yet, just keep going.
Big Grove Brewery is rooted in Iowa and proud to support In the Round. What began as a small brew house in Solon, Iowa, is now one of the leading breweries in the Midwest and has grown to offer new locations in Iowa City, Des Moines, and Cedar Rapids, with plans to open in Omaha in 2025. Big Grove has received several international craft brewing medals, including gold for its Easy Eddie Hazy IPA and Citrus Surfer Fruited Wheat. Scoot in to one of their comfy booths for a beer anytime, or find their crisp and refreshing beers on the craft beer shelves at your local grocer.
I love though, talking about your garden, you have a lyric. I was re-listening. I actually went on a walk this morning before I came to talk to you.
Nice.
Early today. I'm like, I don't want to go to the gym. I want to walk and I want to listen to Love is a Flood and just re-immerse myself in Abbie because I love your music personally. But you have a lyric. It's actually either that or it might be an Abbie and the Sawyers lyric where you talk about like having a bloom in your heart.
Yeah.
And it made me, again, even talking about creativity and finding light and kind of following that, it makes me think of flowers, right? Like a lot of times they don't bloom unless they're under duress of some kind or, like sometimes they need that pushback to actually blossom. And, that makes me think of a lot of your music. And Love is a Flood, which came out in 2022, I think. That was a very personal, almost autobiographical album.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So having my first child, I realized, and in retrospect, I realized maybe the best way I could have prepared for having a kid was to practice relaxing more.
Like, what have I figured out? Like my heat point, like my boiling point. How do I bring that down?
I can hustle, man. I'm a hustler. Hustle's like a survival tactic, right?
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah.
But it's not sustainable or like very healthy for the long term. But like when you have that big change overnight, like having a baby, or if you have a surgery or a loss or something, and like suddenly everything's very different, like in your body and in your energy and in your like responsibilities, it shook me up, and I kind of lost track of like, who am I? Where am I? As everybody has experiences like that, and that was a very big one for me. And I realized I was really good at giving to other people, and not very good at asking for help for myself or receiving it. So that was a very big inflection point of growth and softening for me. And there were so many things that I could only process through making songs about them. And, having that like physical resonance where it's like, okay, when I make this sound or like this vowel or this chord, it seems healing. So that whole album, it's telling stories. It's like, the Sideways song. It's like my mental health journey of, postpartum anxiety, postpartum depression, and kind of re-centering on what does it mean to be me, you know, and what does it mean to be me in community with my family and my bigger community, but still to have a sense of, you know, peace and the darkness that came along that journey. So yeah, they're all the songs on there have pinpoints along that journey and along that growth. And I wanted to, when I was looking for songs that I could listen to during that healing time, I didn't know where to go very much. And there aren't so many songs or projects or albums that I could put my finger on that resonated in the way that I needed them to.
Interesting.
And so I was like, I feel like this is not only going to benefit me putting this postpartum experience into an album, but also for other people. And that I heard from many people that's been the case. Like that's, you know, an underrepresented viewpoint of, you know, women, mothers, or people who are going through like mental health crises. And, you know, there's, you know, there's lots of love songs, breakup songs. Those are very, you know,
those are easy.
Those are easy to find, very satisfying. Love those too. But you know, it's a very specific genre. Like, let's see, postpartum, mental health, growth.
What Spotify playlist? What can I type into the search bar to get that? No,
losing my shit, about to. About to implode. So yeah, and I had one person in our community who came up to me after that album came out, and he just said, "We've been listening to your album a lot as a family, and it has changed how I view my wife and her postpartum experiences and what it means for her to be a parent, and specifically like a mother, just because of like society's views of specifically what it means to be like the female parent." And that was it. That was like, I don't need anyone else to listen to this album.
Done.
In life.
Done.
And so, so it was definitely very personal, and it felt important to share it and to record it and to just make it available to people. And it's not like a Billboard like top 100 album or whatever, but
except "Love Is a Flood," the
you know,
title track gets stuck in my head for like 8 years after I hear. I mean,
it's very
just
popular among my
catchy.
hot demographic is kids ages 6 to 12. I've heard many parents.
We had that too. Actually, the House Country's first record, "Walk Away," they're like, it's just stuck in the CD player in the car. We just leave it. Like, they just play it all the time. Yeah. No, it's wonderful. No, it is. That's what I love about the songs on that album in particular. Was they're like, some of those lyrics are very sad, very, again, vulnerable, very real, but they all sound like just delightful lullabies. Or there's songs that are like, I'm like, this is a masterclass in vocal capability.
Oh,
you know, your
breathing
techniques and everything, because you have some jazz background and like some training, right? Kind of in that space.
Training is like, generous.
Self DIY training.
Yeah. No, I sing in a jazz group called NOLA Jazz Band, but I am like not a jazz vocalist. I would not think of myself as a jazz vocalist, but my band.
Heard it here first, folks. Breaking news. No,
because I don't scat. So that's like, in my mind, it's like, you got to scat if you're going to be a jazz vocalist. I can whistle. I got a mean whistle. I tell you what, I'd never get applause to the degree that I do when I whistle.
When you whistle,
and I'm like, that wasn't even that good. But people are just like, oh, a whistler. This is going to be good. Like,
she committed. I like it. Oh my gosh.
So I'm like, I guess I'm just going to give up singing. I guess. I found my new trade,
new album.
Whistle for hire.
Just different whistles, like you whistle and then a penny whistle, just anything whistle. Really.
I could. I'm gonna cash in on
slide
that.
whistle. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, episode sponsored by Slide Whistles. No, I love, and that's what I find so impressive. and again, being a vocalist myself, maybe I pay more attention to this than other people, and they'll
get
tune
it.
this part out. But I'm just always so impressed, again, with the breath, the phrasing that you get through in your songs, like the amount of time that you're singing before the next breath is always really mind-boggling. And your tone is so unique too. That's why I wrote Folk Queen. Or, beyond that, folk is such a, I just had to pick a genre, but you do a little bit of everything. And there's a song on there. Is it Raise My Wonder? That's kind of like zombie Brazilian. Just struck a chord. Having spent time down in Brazil and kind of loving the Latin sound and the lounge sound there, I was like, so it just ticks so many boxes. I think it's really impressive. And you also, at the same time, sound like, like a 1940s, you've got this like old world thing in there that I really love.
I feel like this was like a fated moment when I was, how old was I? Probably 16. We moved into a new house, and I had the 3rd floor bedroom, and we had a carpet team come in and like put new carpet in my bedroom. It was green carpet.
Oh, nice.
Because I painted the walls like blue with white clouds. So it was like a, nature theme. But anyway, the carpet layers left a CD, and it was Ladies of Jazz.
What?
And I had like never, so I grew up in a house where we had like thousands and thousands of CDs, and they're all organized by genre and then like alphabetical. So I was always listening to music, but there was not really jazz in that collection. And, having Ella and Billy and just like these rich, sad, especially Billie Holiday, like just that sadness that comes through, and I could hear the heroin in her voice,
Yeah, you always want a little tinge of heroin.
Just want a little
growl.
just a touch. Yeah. But, you could just like, as a kid, even at 16, you don't have to have had like, you don't have to live her life to be able to feel that when she sings it.
Oh, absolutely.
And just like, Birdland, like it was an instruction manual of emoting, sing with your whole body and make sound with your whole body, and it will affect people, and at the very least it'll heal you a little bit, know? And
wow, all because of the carpet layers.
Yeah.
Shout out to...
I still remember like finding it up on the top shelf of my closet, and I was like, what is this?
Wait,
And I was
also
like,
carpet layers were listening to jazz.
I don't know.
I
It doesn't check out. I still think about it. Like, is this...
What companies that we need to get them on the show? No,
I
I'm just kidding.
know.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
Brought to you by...
Yeah. That's amazing. Maybe, was it Louis' floor covering?
I was probably, probably, exactly. Louis Armstrong was laying my carpet, the ghost of Louis.
Oh my gosh. So really pretty self-taught.
Yeah.
Oh,
So I didn't
okay.
study music in undergrad. I was considering it. So I was considering it, but then somebody, and it was like an off comment, it was just like a side comment, and somebody I didn't even really know, but they said, if you're going to be a musician or make music, you have to know how to tell stories. And I was like, well, that will determine the course of my life. Thank you very much. So instead of
Thank you, carpet layer, for that.
Yeah, exactly. So instead of like studying music, I decided to do journalism and mass communications. And then I did this other degree, which is now defunct, but it was brilliant. It was called Literature, Science, and the Arts, where every class was co-taught by 2 faculty members from different departments. So a dance professor and an economics professor would teach a class together. And just watching them try and sort out how to teach a class together was a lesson. That was all I needed to. It's like a reality show.
Whoa!
Yeah.
Where was this?
It was at Iowa.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. So
Bring it back.
Yeah.
Iowa, bring it back. Wow.
yeah, and I know. Please, I know you're so wealthy.
Yeah. Now that you had Caitlin Clark, please bring it
Yeah,
back.
Caitlin, I'm counting you.
Caitlin.
My queen, 22. Please, literature, science, and arts.
Oh my gosh, this is amazing.
Yeah,
I didn't know this. Okay.
So I studied journalism, and I thought I was going to work in public health. And then after I got out, I worked in like project management for a long time and communications and all that stuff. But I joined my first band the spring that I graduated from Iowa, and that was Diplomats of Solid Sound. And it was like we all worked in the Englert box office together. You know, Nate Basinger was like our manager in the box office, and Kathy Rustow worked with me selling tickets, and my now husband was also selling tickets, you know, and he was just like, we're going to do this one show. Do you want to sing with us? And I was like, sure. And I mean, I was really, really excited. And then it was so low key. We did the show. We did 2 shows, and then they were just like, rehearsals on Tuesday. It wasn't like, that was good. It was like, rehearsals on Tuesday.
This is the thing.
It's like, I will be there.
With bells on. No bells? Okay, fine. No more bells.
Fine, no bells.
But I could have bells. Oh my gosh.
Bells
this is okay.
optional.
This is amazing. And we are remiss to not speak of Diplomats of Solid Sound. I mean, that's just
such
an
a
incredible band.
Oh God, it's been so fun. I felt it was like, okay, this is a possibility in life, to feel this alive and to feel like I have a soul and it's like worth saving, and it all comes to the stage, and I will dance for 3 hours in these high heels and this gold lame dress because I am alive, you know, and I'm also 22.
And my knees didn't hurt at that time.
No, none of us were heels. We're like, forget it.
I didn't even really put pants on to come here, let alone.
Forget it. So yeah, I've never been good at like sticking to a genre, or like that whole salad idea has definitely been at the times in my life where I felt the most alive and the most like me. It's been like that, where it's been a braid of many things in the braid. So, you know, it started with Diplomats, and then this fortunate / unfortunate, just interesting timing of life was when I joined that band. I also had applied for a scholarship that took me abroad to do my master's degree in New Zealand. So I had a year and a half with Diplomats. We went to Italy and France. We made a few albums, and it was really fun. And then I was like, I'm really sorry, but I have to go. And then, you know, years later, I got to come back into the band and, you know, do more recordings and more shows. And it's like this beautiful homecoming. But the path along that route was when I went abroad, and this is just how weird life is. My now husband and I, we moved into this flat where they had an in-home recording studio, and this guy was a producer. And so I like did some recording with him.
Like she's just making stuff up over here.
It was like it felt like a very like fated time of life. And I was like, oh God, I still have these song ideas that are coming to me, and it feels really good to create things, but I don't have anybody with me to like, I don't have my band, you know, to like spitball this idea. So I was like, do you have any guitars by chance? He's like, well, I teach classical guitar, and I have this whole guitar collection, and you can borrow a guitar while you're here. And so I just started to teach myself chords.
Okay, this is what I was going to say, is when along this journey, because you're an incredible guitar player.
Well, thank you.
Especially
trying all
coming
the time
from one who can't do it at all. So no, but you're that makes sense if it was classical training, because the way you play.
Well, I wasn't really trained by anybody. It was just a classical guitar, so it was really hard to like.
Oh, it's a classical. I don't
yeah, yeah,
I'm with it.
Yeah, he didn't give me lessons. He just said I could borrow the guitar.
It was like the ghost of the guitar coming through you then, classically. Okay.
Yeah, so I'm like sitting on the kitchen floor in this like New Zealand flat, and I'm like, oh, what's this? And my husband, like Chris, he plays guitar, and so he's like, okay, this is a D, this is a G. I'm like, there's no way my hand is ever going to make a D shape. And now when my daughter speaks that way, it's just like, I absolutely hate chicken nuggets. I'm like, did you taste it? She's like, these are delicious. And
I retract my former statement.
Retracted. And I'm like, where'd you get that from me?
Oh, dang. I'm looking in the mirror.
Yeah. But like chord by chord, the first song I wrote was Bitter Heart, which we recorded with Abbie Sawyer's on the Shine album. And it just started that way as a way to accompany myself, because I'm like, oh, there's something to this singer-songwriter thing, because you can go anywhere with just like one instrument in your voice, and you can make songs. So I started writing songs there, and came home and joined this band called Bermuda Report, which was kind of a, you know, pop fusion-ish rock thing. Really fun with great players. And then we made Abbie and the Sawyers when we moved to Des Moines and did our first album. And I had that album release show when I was 8 months pregnant with my first child. And then then it was like, okay, blowing the top off of this. I can tell them this is going to be, I'm going to write songs about this one day.
One day.
One day this will
When I make it out of this.
be the stuff of songs.
Of legends.
Yes. And then I joined NOLA jazz band. So that was 10 years ago. So it was in 2014. Oh, so I was pre-pregnancy. Yeah. So what other bands am I in? Diplomats, NOLA, Abbie Sawyer's. Oh, the Nightlights. So the other ladies from Diplomats of Solid Sound, we really wanted to lean into that, the stories of women's stories of like long-lived friendship that include personal evolution over time together and separately. And then, of parenthood and things that didn't have a home with Diplomats.
Right. Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
And so we made the Nightlights and we recorded an album together and wrote the songs together. And it was a very beautiful experience to get to have so much time in that creative space, in that creative nest together.
Right.
And where we are calling all the shots, it's like, oh, yeah, we like that. And not to say that it's not like that with Diplomats, but there are more cooks in the kitchen, which makes it a very beautiful soup. But it's a little bit more spicy and it's just like, more of a multi-course situation. And so, we made the Nightlights and it's been lovely. And we hope to do more with that.
Yeah, I was going to ask about that.
Yeah.
Okay, that's incredible. And something I love, so when we first met, that was Abbie and the Sawyers era.
Yeah.
And you all sing around one mic usually. And it's got this kind of bluegrass underlayer.
Yeah.
And multiple voices. And what I love is Chris, your husband, actually sings on, with you on that. And he plays banjo, right?
Lauren Ditzler plays banjo, and then he plays guitar and also a little bit of mandolin.
And mandolin, okay. Yeah. Okay. That's what I was thinking of. And I love just listening back through that. I could immediately, take myself back to some of your gigs like at Lefties and things like that, where we actually played together even. And it just, I was like, wow.
Life is long.
Life is long.
Yeah.
But I love the evolution of that. And I actually kind of went backwards on my walk this morning, but it was, I still see and hear such a through line. And I love, in an article you did with IPR, you were talking about like, what better way to enjoy my life than having the people I love in my bands, basically, or loving those people even. And but I find it so impressive to, not only be married and have kids, but be in a band with that person, also run a business with that person. I mean, that's some, you guys have a good foundation.
Yeah.
Or you like beat each other up every night and that's okay too.
Life is a journey. Life's a journey. But we definitely, we're going off the map, that's for sure. But we wouldn't have it, we wouldn't have it another way. Life design feels really important to both of us to squeeze the most out of this experience that we can. You know what I'm saying?
Gotta get the juice. And actually, I love that you keep calling it a salad because remember when we were recently at a party together at Listeners and they made this amazing salad and I keep imagining it every time you say that word. It's so funny.
Oh, it wasn't a they. It was Chris made the salad.
Chris did make, yes.
And somebody came up to me and was like, "Are you Abbie Sawyer?" I was like, "Yes." I was like doing a little hair flip moment. She's like, "Did you make the salad?"
You're like, no, that was Chris. He's over there.
It was like, and then he's used to being like the guy known as like the chiropractor, like the health guy. Yeah. But to be known as like the salad maker really is like the highest praise he could have gotten because he's a magician. That's another way for him to express creativity is like, I don't even know what was in that dressing. You put mayo in it. Great. It was fantastic.
It was amazing.
Yeah. You toasted those nuts, babe.
Right,
yes,
they
you
were
did.
amazing. Yeah, exactly. And so you guys kind of co-run, or he has Capital Chiropractic practice, and then you started Mama Bear, Bare.
Yeah,
everybody, botanicals, and I'm actually a customer, so I can vouch. I love it. It's this amazing face oil, and you're doing other stuff. And so when you're talking about gardening, those were putting that into the pot. I mean, are you you're cooking these things up like at home, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's all
I took over the workbench.
Nice.
And so, we moved all the tools, built a shed outside, all that stuff's out there, and now I have all my oils and all my tools, my hopper and measuring devices.
Yeah.
So it's really fun and has that immediate gratification that you get with cooking something or with writing a song. And it's like, and then
like, I made this.
yeah.
And people like it and I like it, but people like it.
Yeah. And then especially when you follow a recipe, then it's like, I get to make it again and again and have that, same experience every time I send out a package. It's like somebody gets this reliable little love in a bottle.
Yeah.
And so I was gifted oil, like essential oil products and body care products in my postpartum time with both of my kids. And it definitely like helped right the ship for me of like,
amazing.
Yeah. My sister-in-law is, she's a herbalist in training and just like a lifelong lover of plants. And she said to me one time when Leo was like a week old, she's like, just follow the warmth. And then she was telling me all about vetiver and how like the vetiver plant has these deep interconnected roots and, are nearly indestructible from forest fire or winds or floods or anything. And, when we take vetiver under our skin, it gives us those same properties of resilience. And I just was so, it was like believing in like the power of these like plants. And I've carried that. That's kind of why I called the brand Mama Bear. It was like taking care of people, but also like being vulnerable and being open to the gifts around us.
Yeah,
and so
open to the warmth.
Yeah, and there's a lot of vetiver in the stuff that I make. So
it's very grounding. In fact, you won't be able to move for an hour after application.
It's immobilizing.
No, it's wonderful. And it's funny. I think we talked about this, but I was like, every time I use it, and I swear I'm not actually trying to product plug
Sponsored
here, but
by Mama Bear
sponsored by Mama.
Botanicals.
We could. No, what I love about it is knowing you and just like what a light you are and what a warmth of a person. I think about you every time I use it. And I think that adds to, they say you're supposed to tell yourself that you love yourself in the mirror and all that stuff. And I like take that moment to be like, what nice words would Abbie say to me right now? And like just try and internalize that. And I think, no matter how people feel about essential oils or plants or whatever, they are like of this earth. And so I value that, above other things. So I think it's real. Like it's not magic juju, it's, you gotta have a little
just keeping
magic,
it simple.
but it's like,
just like taking a
the
nap.
earth. Yeah.
Can be so magical and it's so simple and free.
Right. Just take that 2 minutes and put this face oil on and relax. Like that's yeah.
Oh,
Makes me
exactly.
think of you.
Exactly. And I think the more we can like bottle, like literally or figuratively, love like for ourselves and for other people, that's a trick of it.
Yeah.
That's what that's the good stuff.
That's what it's for. I love, it's so funny when you were saying earlier how you went to school to like to tell stories or to know how to do that. That's what I was thinking of when you were talking about love is a flood and postpartum. And I'm like, you put words to things a lot of people are feeling and thinking, but you do it in such a beautiful way. I think when people say, oh, I wish I was a singer, I wish I was creative, I think it's that really. It's a lot of times we're all thinking the same thing or feeling similarly, but to hear you put it the way you do and things like that, I think that's what makes your songs just so excellent. It's true like poetry to me, but also what I love is like your quirkiness. Like I feel like sometimes you like don't go for the rhyme on purpose and you say like, I don't know, you just have these little really humanizing moments. And, listening back through that today, it made me think of that. And I was outside and I was just like, yeah, I'm feeling this so hard. So
I am so glad I went on a walk with you this morning.
I know. You weren't there, but you were there for sure. And I immediately was like, oh, I got to tell my mom about it because she doesn't live in the area. In my mind, everybody knows Abbie and her music and everything. But, that's kind of in what you were speaking of community and women and connectivity. I was like, oh, Mom, you need to hear this album. And I know it's something that she would appreciate of, I feel like all moms are a little underappreciated, whether
Yeah.
it's intentional or not.
I
And
want to be seen,
yeah. Yeah.
Low key seen is okay
Just
too.
low-key.
Yeah. I want to feel seen, but leave me alone.
Yeah. How do we master that? Like, I'm just going to be behind this window and you can wave, but just like from over there.
Yeah.
And if my eyes are closed, don't come close.
Exactly.
But you have two wonderful kiddos.
Yeah.
One of your daughter, Emily, I've seen actually perform.
Yeah.
So are you guys like, do you nurture that or you just kind of let her do her thing? Or
I feel like my parents were really effective at loving me for whatever I wanted to do. And I definitely don't want to steer her life. And when I ever feel like, am I getting into that neighborhood? Am I steering her life? I'm like, okay, maybe it's time to think about what needs of mine aren't being fulfilled, or like what passions of mine or dreams of mine need attention, and like I'll give energy there. But for Em, she's been taking drums and absolutely killing it.
Oh.
Yeah, her Will Locker.
oh my God,
is her
every
drum
band.
teacher.
I was going to say every band in town's like, wait, we'll have a drummer in 3 years?
Yeah, no, she's mine. I'm going the Jeff Tweedy route where he, took his son. Yeah.
You're like, this is for my own benefit.
But
Back
also,
off.
I cannot attach to that idea. If she wants to quit drums, it's okay. You can do whatever you
do
need
whatever
to
you want, but also play my band.
But also, I need you to drum in here.
For real.
But she, I think I've heard her say multiple times, when I grow up, I want to be a singer. She's such a strong, confident personality. And when she says that, it comes from this place of like true softness and like sincerity. And so for the first few times she said it, I almost like didn't recognize what she's expressing to me.
Right.
But now she's starting to say like, Mom, when you do that gig, like I want to do a song with you. Like, but it's so funny because I'd be like, well, it's a NOLA gig tonight. We're doing NOLA Jazz Band. She's like, oh, never mind. Or like, because she's like, are you doing Love is a Flood at the NOLA gig? I'm like, I'm not doing Love is a Flood at the NOLA gig. She's like, never mind.
Like, I don't sing that at every single gig, actually. With several groups. You're like, this is more of a you give me fever thing, which I don't know if I want to hear you sing anyway. So.
Yeah, exactly.
I love it.
So yeah, she's exploring her own interests for sure, but she's said like, I want to be a singer when I grow up, and I'm not going to attach anything to that or help her where I can. And
you can drum and sing too. That's totally, that
absolutely
would be super,
Karen Carpenter
super
situation.
badass. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I'm like, heck yeah, more power to you.
Yeah, little white stripes.
Yeah,
like,
exactly. Yeah,
girl,
we need more of that.
So
I love it.
I'm trying.
And you've
not
been
to get too
recording at
excited.
home, right?
Yeah.
This next album,
right?
And so I'm sure she's been seeing that and like, watching that happen.
She's we have our guitars like on the wall in the living room, and the hand drums and her drum kit's in the basement. And the kids have their own bucket of instruments that they bring out all the time. And actually, I have
You're
a
like,
little.
thanks for that tambourine, Mom.
I have a little side anecdote about that. So Leo, our second child, he and Em both have these ukuleles, and he's been playing it a lot recently. And the other day, I heard him in his room, and he got out his ukulele, and it's out of tune. But he's like strumming it, and he's like, when your friends aren't nice and your family's not nice, you can get new friends. You can get a new family. And I'm like, who's not nice to you? I like didn't come in and say anything. I was like, we're just watching from the other room. But then he's like, okay, rehearsal time's over. He was like talking to himself, rehearsal time's over. And he's like, got to take care of your instrument. And he put it back in the case and he like zipped it up. And I was like, and then I was like, so were you jamming? Were you like doing some songwriting? He's like, yeah. And he's like 4.
Oh my gosh, I love this so much. My heart is exploding.
I know. So I was just like, I love this so much, but also I got to just play it so cool.
Yeah.
The most
Who
cool.
hurt you?
Well, also that, but also I'm like, I love your songwriting about how you're going to get new friends. Like that was really heartfelt. I could tell it was from a place of vulnerability, Leo.
I am just waiting for the Sawyer family band, basically at this point, the Abbie Sawyer family band. Oh, I love that.
It actually, so listening to first mixes of this next album that I'm working on at the house, we listen as a family at night, and we'll listen to everything that's ready so far. And to hear both of the kids actually, like, they already know all the words and they know all the melodies, and they like jump in and start singing, it's waterworks for me.
Yeah.
It's just like, this is so beautiful. I can't believe this thing that came from so deep inside of me is like part of their experience now too, you know? And I'm almost like, I don't need to release it. Like, this is all that I really needed. It was like a campfire in the backyard, and we're like humming along to these tunes. So it's been really special for this project to have it come, like the songs are all written in my house, to have it be recorded in the house. Later today, I'm doing a photo shoot in the house.
Yeah, wow.
For the album art.
Yeah.
And there's just that sacredness,
Yeah.
I love a studio. Obviously, here we are in a studio.
Right.
Absolutely love like the magic that can come out of it. But for something different, especially for this batch of songs, it's all about like love and loss. And, since Love is a Flood came out, I've experienced, as we do as human beings, experience big losses of deaths and tragedies and things that have happened. And I feel like I was able to iterate more quickly this time in terms of like tragedy. I know what to do, We're gonna like set up a meal train. We're gonna like rest for a while. Gonna have a slow season. Gonna like kick it back. We're gonna lean into the music. And so this batch of songs is like, processing that very temporary experience that we have in all of the phases of life, including in life itself. And so to be able to go into what feels like the womb, of my home, and to where it's so safe, and to create from that space, barefoot, it's just like it's given it this very like special aliveness that I'm really enjoying. And I didn't want it to be overly mixed either or overly produced. I said, when I'm working with Gabe Scheid, and I was just like, I want it to feel alive in the room, even though we're not recording it live. And so we've taken it in that direction because I wanted to kind of feel like a house show, to have that intimacy of like being in someone's home. So it's been lovely. It's been a good experience. Yeah.
Oh my God. Well, I can't wait to hear it.
Yeah,
so I am
me too.
glad you're releasing it as much as you said you may not need to. I want to hear it.
Yeah,
So.
I will release it. I think it's going to come out like maybe next spring.
Oh, fantastic. Okay.
So
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's good. I don't know what it's going to be called yet. I'm still working on it. But I've been calling it like the Treehouse Sessions, because we call our house the Treehouse.
Oh, I love it.
If you ever come over to my house, the Wi-Fi password is, or the Wi-Fi is called the Treehouse, and then the password is 321 blast off. So
all of a sudden there's like 10 cars parked outside your house using Wi-Fi for some reason. Oh my God, I love it.
Doing Zoom calls in their car.
I'm like, I'm going to go work from Abbie Street.
Work
no
from
one cares.
Abbie's home. Yeah. I'm going to the Treehouse.
Oh.
That's my next venture. I'm gonna sell like co-working like passes.
It makes total sense.
I'll make some
like
herbal tea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I actually would, yes.
Yeah,
sign me up. I was going to
know.
say, we're joking, but no, we're not. Let's
Yeah.
do it.
My dining room table expands. It can seat 12 people. Oh, gosh.
Okay, before I let you go, I do want to ask a question. So you mentioned your guitar, and you have a vintage, like a really old guitar, and I can't remember what it is, and I was going to ask you about that.
For sure. It's a 1938 017 Martin, and it's a parlor size mahogany guitar that we purchased from a good friend a couple years ago from his personal collection. He was a collector, and he recently passed, so it felt very special that we got to connect with him before he passed. And, we visited him 3 times asking him about his collection and, looking for a very specific, we want a vintage, like mahogany, parlor size. And it was on the third visit that he's like, okay, I actually need to show you a guitar. And he pulled out this one and I strummed like one chord and it was like my heart space just like resonated, like came alive. And I was like, Chris, she's coming with us.
Yeah.
She's coming with us.
Sell my kidney, I don't care. I'm taking her.
Exactly.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
And so
I remember you telling the story about this
Yeah.
immediate connection to this guitar.
Yeah. And I wrote like a bunch of songs for Love is a Flood and for the Meadowlark album from Abbie and Sawyer and the Nightlights. It was just like a muse.
Like a conduit, yeah.
But then like it had to get a huge like overhaul and it completely changed the tone and it completely but it's like a rebirth. It was like a phoenix moment.
Okay.
Where it was like I mourned it. I mourned like what she was and then I let her rest for a while and I kind of allowed myself to forget what she used to sound and feel like. And then picking her up again has been like, oh my God. Like I was given such a gift in having this totally revamped. Mike Markovis is a wizard. And so, yeah, it's super bright, super balanced. Anyway, even though it's almost 100 years old, it's cool. It's like when I was recording a couple of the last albums and got a chance to play different kinds of guitars, it occurred to me, it's like guitars are like your spice drawer, You can like, there's like no limit to the inspiration you could get from these, you're holding them physically onto your body and the resonance is like going into your body. It's like a sound bath. It's like where, what's it gonna do? What is it gonna shake out of you? And so that sent me on this hunt and we ended up getting another one too that's like a early 1920s Gibson, also small bodied, like a parlor size mahogany. And just to smell it, it's like smells like a cigar box and it's like it feels like the old blues. It's like only meant to play blues on this thing. And
like you
but that's like
stuff.
Guitar. But like that was the guitar that I wrote Raise My Wonder on and just starting to figure out like, ooh, what is this? It sounds like so magical and mysterious and thank you, guitar, for holding this song and telling me about it. So yeah. She's a good one.
Yeah.
And I still have the first guitar that I ever got, which is also a Martin, but it was like fresh out the factory. And it's had to learn how to be a guitar over time. This one
Whipped
came
it into shape.
locked and loaded.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I just love how gear can make a difference, but also a good musician can, play anything.
Well,
even an out-of-tune ukulele. Shout out to Leo. I really
Leo.
related to that story. Being a
get
player.
some new friends.
I know. I love it.
I'm covering it soon.
I was gonna say, can we cut that track? You gotta come back. Oh, I love it. Oh gosh, this is such a pleasure.
Thank you so much for having
I
me.
would probably just talk to you for 3 more hours, so we better wrap it up so Phil doesn't have to edit 4 hours of conversation.
Let's just go get coffee.
Abbie Sawyer, thank you so much for being in the round at Trilix Studio. Such a pleasure to have you. You're a dear friend of mine, an incredible musician, and I'm saying that without bias, but also very biased because I love you. So thank you for coming in.
Love you too, Diana. Thank you so much.
Crowd goes wild.
So much classic. I held the fire and I kept the flame for years after speaking your name. But I'd rather feel heat than give blame. Wonder if you feel the same. Back when you first asked me to dance, felt like I was taking a chance. But love is a funny thing. I give anything to relive that spring and the things I knew far and few. But I knew my heart loved you and the things I knew far and few.
In the Round is produced and recorded at Trilix Studio. Remember to subscribe to In the Round wherever podcasts are found.
But I knew my heart loved